facing head-on the emotions beneath the surface as we bridge from an old world of confusion and lack to a beautiful new world of freedom, abundance, and love with straightforward truth and inspired hope is what you'll find on The Charla Anderson Show. Collector and connector of fascinating people. And everyone is fascinating. Here's your host, Charla Anderson.
Good, beautiful day, you beautiful, beautiful souls today. This is Charla Anderson, host of the Charla Anderson Show, collector and connector of fascinating people, and everyone is fascinating, especially you. We're on Win-Win Women platform. It's the only live, global, interactive platform for women, and it's expanding greatly. And anyone who has something to share with the world that would love to have a platform, we are certainly expanding and looking for new hosts for this dream, this vision to actually have 24/7 in all languages around the globe for people in every culture to have a community. So join us or ask me, send me a message if you'd like more information about that. We're also on Poditize, podcasts, all kinds of streaming services, and having a special friend today, Lauren Midgley, is going to be my guest. But first, as you know, we almost always do a little introductory mini vacation, a little 22-second meditation that will help us, and it certainly helps me, get grounded and more centered. So what we're going to do is breathe in calm for 7 seconds. We're going to hold for 4 seconds. We're going to breathe out gratitude for 11 seconds. So would you join me with that, please? Here we go. Hold that calm. Release. Breathe out gratitude. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Yeah, I'm extremely honored to have my really special friend, a good mentor that I've known for a long time now, many, many years. That we met in networking 12, 13 years ago? I don't know. I retired from Delta in 2008. So it was around that time that I was introduced to Lauren Midgley. 25. This is my 25th show. So I'm like, I can't believe this is happening. But she was my very first guest on my very first radio show when I was, I think that was in 2011, maybe. Mm-hmm. So we've known each other a while. And as most of our relationships, they kind of ebb and flow. And I'm so grateful to have you back with me, Lauren. You truly, I've always admired you and watched you just stand in that strength and that power and making a difference everywhere you go. And thank you for being with me today.
Thanks, Charlotte. And it's an honor to be here with you. You are a connector and collector of people for sure. And I always love the people that you know and all the efforts that you've been doing to communicate and collect people. It's awesome.
Well, we're all in this world together. And that's the most important thing to me, is that just loving people who and where they are and loving them through these unsteady times, and sharing hope, sharing overcoming like we all have. And I know you have, and how that can translate into making a difference to the next person, and how we can lift them up, share our love, share our light, and offer hope and encouragement everywhere we go, every step of the way. And I know that's who you are. Tell me a little bit more. Tell us more about who you are in this world. Then we'll talk about what you do.
So who I am in this world is a person who loves to empower people in how they utilize their time. Charla, you and I have talked about a lot of situations where time is so important. Our dreams are important. And oftentimes we don't find that we have time for those dreams, to make those dreams happen. So I like to help people really truly look at how they use time and how they can use it better. Most times people have got a good thing going on. It's not that they have to turn their whole life upside down. But in looking at that, I find that if they get really clear about how they use their time, they can find ways to make time. You can't really make time, but to find time to chase that dream, to honor that dream, or do things that really feed their soul and really ultimately reduce stress and become better people. So that's what I truly enjoy doing. You're right. We met probably 2011. I remember first time I met you sitting next to you at Tony Allison's class. We got talking, and I was fascinated by you and your message out to people as to, again, just empowering and how to be better people. So you and I are on the same path. Just slightly different messages, but they definitely are synergistic.
Well, time management, or it's really self-management to make the most of those same 24 hours that we all have, right? So we only have the same, but it's just fascinating to me to watch someone that is so incredibly productive and gets so many things done in the same 24 hours that I'm glad I got my teeth brushed, so so yeah, I know that that message is so incredibly needed, and I'm fascinated by that. And so you've got um some specific, well, tell me, give me the name of your books. You've got the 6 o'clock
It is 6 a.m. and I'm already behind. 30 strategies to get caught up in a crazy busy world. And I wrote that back in 2014-15, published it, really came out in 2016. And it's interesting, as I've gone on that journey, and as you know, I do speaking, and I speak to groups of all types, corporate, nonprofit, women's groups. But it's interesting to stay connected with some of those people that I've either spoken to or they read the book, and how it can impact someone's life. And I feel like I'm just the messenger to help somebody get clarity about that. And again, as I said, follow that dream or make certain things in their life happen that weren't happening, and just that makes my heart feel good.
Well, what did you give us an example of some results that you feel like has come
Yeah.
from your book and your messages?
Yeah. So one of them that I still believe in today. In fact, I was speaking last night to a women's group and mentioned this concept, and it was true then and it's still true today. And that is knowing our capacity each day. And what I mean by that is that how much time do we have to do our tasks? So we might be at work for 8 hours a day. We might be a work from home entrepreneur. We may have meetings scheduled. We have emails to do. But really looking at your schedule and knowing what can I realistically get done today? Because I think so many times we set ourselves up to fail, and we take on too much for the day, or we think we can get more done than we really can. And then at the end of the day, we feel bad, or we're thinking about all the things we didn't get done. It was interesting. A couple of months ago, I was speaking to a group here in the DFW area, and it was a 2-hour presentation, which is a little bit longer than I normally do, but we had a break. And this lady left during the break, and she came back before we got started, and she showed me these 2 clipboards that she had. One was her personal clipboard, and the other one was her business clipboard. And I had spoken, I think it was 2014, and had shared a worksheet, which is also in the 6 a.m. book. And she said, I printed out that worksheet and I'm still using it to this day. And essentially what it was capacity. of, how do you figure out, what am I doing today? About how long is it going to take me to do those tasks, or I want to allow for? And, so that she stayed in check and didn't overload the capacity sheet, if you will. It was basically her today to-do sheet. But it was really interesting. And I did not know, I didn't remember meeting her, but she was in one of my groups that I had spoken to, and is still using that today. And it was like, oh my gosh. And so she said, yeah, changed my life. And I was much better able to balance the two, the personal sheet and then the business sheet. And I said,
love that word,
kudos
capacity.
to you,
Yeah, that's phenomenal. That word capacity is something I love. Some people just don't have the capacity to whatever, clean, clean house
Right.
well, or whatever, or
Yeah.
seem not to have that capacity. And it's a great word for the time management aspect or the personal management you're talking about here.
It
So
is.
how do you suggest overcoming that constant overwhelm we seem to feel? Because today is pretty crazy busy. I mean, I'll say it this way: we're all very busy, but I don't know that we're very effective.
Right. Right. And said another way is, how do we stay sane in the insane world around us? And so, and my true belief on this is that, all that we can control, and I use that word with air quotes, is what's happening today. I can plan for, a week from Friday, I can plan next month, but right now, my mind and my attention, or attention management, or my energy management, is what's happening today. Right. And so if I am clear on what I can really accomplish today, and maybe underestimate it a little bit, so that I feel good that, yeah, I had a great day. I set out to do certain things and I got those things done. One other concept that is coming out in the next book is, and this is kind of an interesting one, and I'll share it real quickly with you, and it's the 1%. And the thought here is, if you take 1% of your day and really intentionally plan it, think about it, choose, decide, could be in the morning, usually. And what that represents is 14 minutes. So in our total day, we have 24 hours, we have 1,440 minutes available to us. Some are sleeping, some are work, some are discretionary. But the thought here is, can I take 1% and start out my day? Again, coffee, tea, something like that, quiet time in the morning, and just take that time and think about intentionally, what do I want to get done today? What feeds my soul? Who do I need to connect up with? Who do I need to honor? All of those good things. And, just give yourself that time. And oftentimes we wake up, we grab the phone, we jump into email, we just get started, and we don't really plan, or we don't think, we don't take time to think. So concept really is truly just 1% of your day, 14 minutes.
That's huge to me. And 14 minutes, people go, that's nothing. But it's everything if you use it intentionally. And that's the second word. You've got capacity, you've got intentionality. And those two words, if we, I'm going to go back and find your books. I know I have it. I got to read this. That's 6:00 and I'm already behind book again, to remember that how to literally take action on those things that are important to me for that day. And you've got your master at it. And I'm grateful to have that story about that lady that's still using it. That's got to be gratifying. And that's so
Absolutely.
cool.
It was. It was.
But you call it work-life choices rather than balance. What's that about?
What that's about is truly, if you think about balance, or the way a lot of people think about balance, and I think about it, is kind of 50-50, like, okay, work, life. But in reality, work is, let's call it 8 hours or 9 hours a day. And let's say, life on the other side is 8 hours of sleep, which is really, really important. We don't want to forego sleep. We don't want to do less sleep. We want more sleep. And if you really think about how many, I call them discretionary hours that we have available to us to do things that we want to do, it's a small amount of hours, small amount of time. And when we waste it, if you will, we're not, really in balance. And so if you think about it, I mean, there's so many articles, so many people that are burned out based on their life and what they're doing. And, it's part of that is just, sometimes they're working too many hours, all those good things. But I believe in to, kind of throw the word balance out the window and think about choices, which goes back to that whole intentionality. It's like, okay, I know I'm at work for 8 hours. I know I need to be there fully present, do my job. I know I need to sleep for 8 hours or thereabouts, and I need to be fully present to do that sleep. And then, beyond that, I've got meals, commute, all those other things. But it's like, wow, I really need to make the right choices that really, again, I use the word feed my soul. And when we don't make those choices, or we make, let's call them choices that are just, non-intentional, non-thinking, could be social.
Reactionary so
Yeah.
often.
Yeah. It could be like, well, I'm going to binge watch TV tonight. Well, okay, you can do that. Is that the choice that you want to make that night for that reason? If you do it, 6 nights a week, then to me, that's kind of a lazy choice, if you will.
What
right?
if and you might ask the question, what am I avoiding doing?
Exactly. Yeah.
What am I trying to drown myself? And
Yeah.
and what I've noticed, that those things that we are avoiding addressing don't seem to go away just by watching TV all
They
night.
don't get better, do they? Another group that I was speaking with, I spoke with a lady after that event, and she described for me her to-do list, her life, and how busy she was. And she was president of a Rotary chapter. She was president of a women's group. She had 5 dogs, 5 rescue cats. And I mean, this woman was busy, but she had like 20 to-do lists that she was managing. And then she was talking about the fact that her husband was not happy that she wasn't home much, and that she was so busy. And I asked her, I didn't know her, and I thought I was a bit bold, but I said, what are you avoiding? Right. And, are you avoiding, and I was like to her, don't answer that. I just want you to think about it. Are you avoiding the relationship with your husband? Are you avoiding things, and you're just filling every crack of every moment in your calendar because you're avoiding something? And you're absolutely right on, Charla.
So avoiding or often it's you're avoiding your heart call, your soul and heart centered call. That is, we don't take time to be still and know, to be still and know, to be still and know, to take 22 seconds even that just to meditate, breathe in some calm and gratitude. And we avoid facing what's not right, what's it's just easier to keep being busy, right? And rather than stop and look at it. Sometimes I know, and I've got a situation, I'm kind of witnessing someone just almost self-destruct, and it's you just like, yes, you want to, and they don't want to hear it. They don't have the capacity to stop and go,
that's right.
Thank you for that, that words of wisdom to help me get back on path. And they don't necessarily want to do that.
Well, and the other question I asked her was, what are you willing to give up? Are you willing to have some downtime or some space in your life? If your big thing right now is being president of Rotary, that's awesome, great service organization. But then the question becomes, can you let go of the, strong activity in that women's group? You were leadership before. Can you dial it back a little bit? And, just and again, it goes back to those intentional choices, the capacity, and getting clear. And again, that's, kind of what I do and how I help people, is just saying, without judgment, like, if you want to do it all, it's okay. But, is it really?
But you wouldn't be in listening to this conversation if there wasn't something going, I wonder if there's a better way.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
And the
Exactly.
capacity then, sometimes people get their self-worth being busy. I guess that's the way to say it. The self-worth is like, wow, look what all she's doing. And that, it's like, is she happy doing it, or is she
Right.
needing that wow, wow, wow gratitude, that uplifting compliments, or oh my goodness, you're so busy, how do you do it all? And
That's so
that
true.
raises their self-worth, although, or their self-esteem, maybe not their self-worth. There's a
Right.
difference there.
But what happens, and as you know this, is you wear yourself out. Eventually, what is it? The book, The Body Keeps the Score, right? Eventually, it does catch up with you. And so it's kind of like, I like to say, are you committed to non-essential tasks that really don't serve your life?
And so I was just visiting my son I hadn't seen in a while, and uh, he's a Marine in DC, and I just got home yesterday, so I just was there, and I only turned my computer on one day, and that Monday, just to
Mhm.
get a because he didn't have internet or good cell service, first of all, where he was, and but I'm like, it's still here, I
Mhm.
it's almost like, do I'm always busy, and the way I say it, there's never nothing to do. There's never nothing to do. It's not
That's
like
right.
that. But you had a couple of defining moments in your life, total,
Mhm.
and I witnessed a little bit of this.
You did.
That
You did.
that led you to your current focus of helping others use their time better.
Yeah. So the first defining moment was, and again, this kind of goes back to the body keeps the score, was breast cancer in 2014. And boy, it was a year of seeing doctors, going through chemo, radiation, 3 surgeries, all of those things. And it really does kind of redefine things for you as to what becomes important, who becomes important, all those things that it really causes you to think about time a little bit differently. And so I would encourage those that are listening to think about that, whether it's happened to you or happens to somebody close to you. It doesn't have to be cancer. It could be just, I call it a health event. But it becomes your wake up call, if you will. The second one, Charlie, was that, I was in the corporate world for about 25 years before I became an entrepreneur. And during COVID, I ended up back in the corporate world working. And by choice, I decided to do that, hang up my entrepreneur shoes for a few years. And what I found fascinating, and a key lesson here, was that I jumped right back into the 12-hour workday. And which I had espoused, like, don't do that, when from the first go around with the corporate 25-year career. It was like, Lauren, you work too many hours. What was wrong? You didn't need to work that many hours. Don't do that. And which kind of led me on the whole productivity path and helping others not do that. uh, and uh, and then, boy, back in that environment, it was just so easy. And that was the key lesson for me. It was so easy just to slip right in to, just think, well, if I just pour more time in it, I'll get more done. It'll look better. I'll do better. And the reality was, I didn't have the boundaries in place that I needed. But it was, obviously I made that choice to work those hours, but looking back on it was like, woof. And so it led me to something that kind of a framework. And that was 3 things. One is mindset, boundaries, and communication. So mindset really is the choice of, no, you don't need to work 12 hours. If either you're not being effective at what you're doing, or there's too much on your plate, or they're asking you to do too many things, right? So make a choice of how to deal with that. Create the boundaries of, no, I'm not, I'm leaving the office at 5, or I'm not working weekends, or whatever that might be for you, the boundaries. but then ultimately the communication. How do you then communicate to those around you? This is my choice, and these are my boundaries. So it's kind of interesting, and I really see those as defining moments because you think about burnout, so prevalent today. It's easy to be in that culture, in that environment, and get burned out. But ultimately, you've got to make the choice.
Everything is choice. I mean,
Yeah.
everything is choice. And actually, I say it often, where we are is all we have. We don't have last second. We can't change one last minute that we worked overtime that we shouldn't. We cannot change one thing that has happened since Let There Be Light, right? Till right
Yeah.
now.
Yeah.
We can only change. And if it's something's not working, then we get to make a choice to moving forward. And so often we're living so much facing that what we should have done or wish we had have done rather than, well, right now is all I have to make a different choice. And maybe I could choose the next step to move a little further towards what's fulfilling for me rather than what's fulfilling for others.
Yeah.
And using this time management or time I'm witnessing as well, there's a lot of people that are so entertained. The entertainment, I believe that this is at least a truth that I see. So many people's values, you tell you someone's values by how they spend their time and their money, their checkbook and their calendar,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
And nobody has a checkbook anymore. But, but entertainment seems to be the highest value that I've noticed in a younger
Mhm.
dynamic. And all this being busy all the time with the screen time or the games or the what do we eat, it's all about entertainment as a high value in their life, which I've never had that. I just don't. And so doesn't mean I'm better or anything. I'm not saying that, but it's
Right.
just something to witness and watch and wonder if it's just keeping people so busy. We're keeping people so busy that they literally don't have the idea that they're not taking time for themselves at all. They're entertained, but they're not having fun, often,
Right.
right?
Right. There's
Anyway,
a great
that's an
book out
aside.
called Yeah, there's a great book called Stolen Focus, and I think
Mm.
it came out either last year or this year. And the author talks about the fact that, the whole tech industry is, geared for us to, stay on the devices longer, stay connected, and stay engaged, with potentially mindless things, right? But it's under the guise of entertainment, and but it was all designed that way for because the longer we're on those tech devices in the video game or social media or whatever, the more money they make, right? And
The more
so
money they make and the more disconnection we end up having in real life and with real people. So,
yeah,
oh yeah, but I'm playing with these other friends. I'm like, okay, what if you went outside and dug in the dirt for a few minutes? It's like,
yes,
uh,
yes.
to the kids. So I want to shift gears back to something that you, always ask, what's your favorite quote? And you
Mhm.
said there's a quote that you put in your book that you finish each day and be done with it, right? So
Yeah,
Ralph
so it's Ralph
Waldo
Waldo
Emerson.
Emerson. And it's just to me, it captures the essence of productivity. And the quote goes like this: finish each day and be done with it. You've done what you could. Some blunders and absurdities no doubt crept in. Forget them as soon as you can. Tomorrow is a new day. Begin it well and serenely and with too high a spirit to be encumbered with your old nonsense. It goes back to what you're saying, be here now. You're present today. There's nothing we can do about yesterday.
I can't the things I did this morning, that you're like, "Ugh." And what I'm trying to impress on some young ones that are around me is like, where we are is all we have. I've already said that. And we might as well love it. But what if you can't, upset draws upset, right? So we get upset about something and then we repeat it and relive it. And then 5 years down the road, you're going, remember that guy that cut me off? And you've got your whole life is living from these stories you made up about something that happened. And they're leading your life. You made an F in 7th grade. And it's so, you see, I told you I was stupid. You're still playing off that same story you made up about making a bad grade. And they're all that stuff, every bit of that's in the blind spot in the back of your brain that's driving your future. And so when we can start peeling those layers of the stories we make up away, so that our future is really unlimited possibilities.
Yeah.
And we can start stepping into those. So I know so often our days are just made up about something that went wrong. And what that does is continue to reinforce what's wrong, what went wrong. And it then it kind of makes us maybe into complainers or something along that line. So I just think that is very true. When today is all we got, we might as well, actually not even today, this moment is all we have, might as well love it, because where else are we going to start from?
Exactly.
And so I don't know if you're familiar with Michael Singer. I bring him up a lot. I've actually I discovered him this year after he's a 70s hippie, that wrote The Untethered Soul and The Surrender Experiment, an incredible old hippie that became a multi-billionaire because he just did what was in front of him, and said yes. And he said no to what his brain was telling him, which is always trying to keep you safe. But he said yes to something that was presented. And I have loved his books because ultimately his method is, something upsets you, relax, you've got that moment. Matt Kahn says, may you be blessed. If something upsets you, just bless them and move it on. Michael Singer says, relax, release, let it go, and then deal with what's in front of you. And you can deal with it from a calm demeanor rather than this upset. So I feel like that fits in here somehow. I don't know.
It does. The Untethered Soul is an incredible book. It's one of my favorites. Absolutely. It is.
And for me not to have found that till this year, I mean, I'm always doing the 4 Agreements, all these amazing books. And for me to not run across that, I'd heard of it, but I'd never taken that on. The Surrender Experiment I really liked because he tells how he did it, his story, his life story. But man, how many of us could benefit from letting go of the upset in the moment and not having to continue telling the stories over and over and over again that,
Well, it's kind of like living in anxiety, but it's self-induced because you keep reliving that event. And back to your point earlier, you can't change that event. And so it's, in living in anxiety, it affects everything you do today. The interactions you have with other people, it affects how productive you are. It affects how happy you are, all of those things. And you're right. It's, release and let it go. But it's easier said than done. But, again, going back to choices and being mindful and intentionality of like, yeah, that happened yesterday. I didn't like it at all, but you know what? Today is a new day. Moving forward, right?
It's a new muscle. It's a practice. You can't, it's not a flip of a switch. Although I think we can flip switches. I got my books, Second Transformation, Change Your Words, Change Your Life, 31 Daily Practices, submitted to publishing. And so I feel like there are moments we can flip a switch and shift. But it's
not that you don't care that event happened or the upset happened, whatever. I mean, you do care, but you're not letting it define you today in how
it's not defining you, and for your whole future. And I do believe that we all carry those stories. And I believe that they start when we're about 4 or 5 years old. Somebody says something, they brought a new baby home to my family. I'm like, well, what's wrong with me? I'm not good enough, right? I'm sure that there was all that. And when I was 4, like, why do they need another one? I'm, what's wrong with
I'm
me?
good enough and better.
They called me the love child. I mean, why do they bring, so that's
That's
the
good.
truth. Anyway, so it always goes so fast, but I want people to be able to find you. I want people to know where to get your books. And the title of your next book is?
The title of the next book is It's 5 p.m. and I'm Still Not Done. And really that's, it's kind of the next in the series after the 6 a.m. book. But it's the thought of I'm still not done, but I need to walk away. And the elements that are in this book are all about work-life choices and kind of being mindful of that intentionality. And, again, just I think from when I wrote the first book to this next book, I've had lots of opportunity to have lots of conversations with a lot of people and just digging deeper into this whole topic of, how we use our time and how it can be effective. Best way to reach me is laurenmidgley.com to my website, or lauren@laurenmidgley.com is my email. And
So let's spell it because the podcast,
sure. LAUREN at Lauren Midgley, which would be M as in Mary, IDGLEY.com. And if you send me an email, I'd love to send you a free electronic version of the upcoming book because I am collecting advanced readers. And so it'll come out as an ebook first, and then I'll have it published. So
that's exciting.
Happy to share.
Happy to share. That's very, very cool. So what's next after the book is coming out. So what's next for you? Where are we headed?
Well, I continue to speak. I get called to speak in front of groups, and I love that because, obviously bigger audience and bigger opportunity to share the message and get people thinking about how they use time. So just kind of continuing that path of speaking and doing the book launch. So that's really what's ahead for me. So thank you for asking.
Exciting times for sure. I mean, literally, I feel like when intriguing opportunities present themselves and you say yes, things show up. I showed up with a radio show. Now I've got a TV show. I say yes to intriguing opportunities. And whenever I even had you as like a mentor officially for a little while, and I love that. And are you familiar with Benson Agbatorgo? He's one of my mentors that I love dearly. I hadn't seen him in a while, but he has a thing about where yours all you have is the way I say it, but he's like, keep breathing free oxygen, and I say, especially if we're on this side of the dirt and we're in Texas, free oxygen. So when we can count our blessings in that way and recognize that, I don't know why he came to mind, but you both are such precious pieces of my life and my growth phase. So this has been a lot of fun, and it always goes too fast for me. And we're looking forward to, this is live weekly. This show will come out on podcast. I think it's October 10th. So we're catching them up twice a week to get the podcast to where we caught up. And then there'll be once a week, but that's an exciting thing too, because it comes out as a blog with all your quotes and all kinds of fun things. So October seems like a long time, but it's not. Blink, blink. It's almost Christmas.
So true.
I'm grateful for you. I'm grateful for your time. Do you have any last word that you want to share? And then we'll just
I think one of the last words I'd like to say is just, as you look at your life, think about how, instead of doing more, how can you do less, be more intentional, and really live life. But sidebar, the PS to that is what you just said. Say yes to the opportunities that make sense. But don't say yes to the opportunities that are just filling time, if you will. So think about how
there's no lack of opportunities. It's the intriguing ones or the important ones, something that piques your interest, that is when you start saying yes, because the reason I say that starts drawing the everything to you to make things happen. So
Yes.
you are beautiful. I love you so much. I'm so
Love you back, and thank
that
you.
grateful that you've chosen to grace me with all your presence today. And I look really forward to reconnecting again and catching up and having some coffee or wine or whatever. So
Sounds good.
I will I always like to just say, I want you to know that you guys, whoever's listening, you are perfect exactly who and where you are right this second. There's nothing you can be doing that will make you more or less loved by God. If God is love, he can't be not love. And just receive that and know that you're exactly perfect. And the only place to start from is where you are right now. And I also would love to just let you know that you are blessed. And I always, always, always say, choose joy.
Parting is such sweet sorrow. The Charla Anderson Show, encouraging you to stand strong and courageous with bold faith, no fear, immense hope, kindness, and love, especially towards yourself. Visit charlaanderson.com for replays, blogs, and more on her ever-expanding website, as well as watch her live TV show on winwinwomen.tv, Roku, Apple TV, and Amazon Fire. And so that we can continue learning together and growing this community of beautiful souls, we invite you to share the Charla Anderson Show with your circle of friends. Until we meet again next week, remember always, choose joy.